I believe that everyone wants to get on safety net. Under today's motion, this House believes that the practice of MIM investing brings more harm than good. First of all, ladies and gentlemen and fellow educators, I would like to explain on why this motion appears. In today's society, a lot of people are really interested in investment, and they think that if they start investing, that it is a quick way for them in order to get rich. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me define what MIM investing itself. So MIM investing is where a company produces MIM in a massive scale and they start commercializing it on purpose, and they invite people, especially people from a lower class background or from a working class, to invest as much money as they can on the MIM itself. And under today's debate, our goal as the government side of the House is we want to save the working class from being exploited by the upper class. First of all, I will explain on why is MIM investment are really problematic. So there are two things that make MIM investment really problematic. The first one is it is really easy to invest on MIM. They doesn't do a background check like what you guys get if you want to invest on stock. They will do a background check and they will make sure that you have money to invest on it. But in MIM investment, they don't really check that, and they just, if you want to invest on it, then you can invest on MIM. And the second thing is that MIM is really accessible for people. So a lot of people who come from a working class who doesn't really understand how to invest, they start investing because they believe that if they start investing on this MIM, they will get rich as fast as they can, which is really problematic because that isn't how investment works. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I will explain on the characteristic about the two actors on today's debate, which is the corporate and the working class people who are being targeted by this MIM investment. The first thing is that there are these two actors, they come from a different class. So the target market of this company are people who came from a working class society. Meanwhile, those who came from a working class society, they have a completely different background with those corporate people. Like what I just said before, those corporate men, they come from a high education background. They came from a well and stable family who doesn't have to think about food for the next day, who doesn't have to think about how they can pay for their children's tuition. But the working class people that are being targeted by this MIM investment, they come from a lower education background, and they come from a family background who doesn't have a stable economic. And so they still need to think about what they should eat tomorrow, and they should still think about how can they pay for their children tuition. And notice on the there are a difference of class. So those corporate people who came from a stable economic background, they will only get richer from exploiting on the working class who happens to have a lower education background and doesn't really understand on how investment works. So the corporation guy are actually exploiting the working class to start invest on MIM. Meanwhile, an investment isn't always going up, especially in MIM. It's completely different than investing like in real estate or in gold, which are easier to understand for the working class. Investing in MIM is risky because like in just one day, your money could just gone that you just have invested in MIM. And this is a huge problem for the working class that being targeted by the corporate, like what I just stated before, that the upper class have a safe and stable economic in their household, but the working class, if all the money that they have invested in MIM suddenly gone, that it will ruin their life. It will make it harder for them to fulfill their daily needs. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we also need to notice that those people who are being targeted, which is the working class, they come from a lower education background, which means that they are most likely to be exploited by the corporation since they come from a lower education background. They doesn't really understand how MIM investment work, and they're most likely to be blinded by the amount of money that the corporate tell them they will get in the future if they start investing on MIM that the corporation create. Meanwhile, those corporate guys who come from a higher education background, they understand how to attract lower education people to invest on this MIM. Meanwhile, those people, the working class people who came from a lower education background, they will most likely to look up on this corporation guy, and they will most likely to believe what those corporation guy have told them on how that investing in MIM will make them rich as fast as it can. Meanwhile, that is not the fact, ladies and gentlemen. And then the last thing is that I would like to explain on how that MIM investing actually has a lot of risk, so it's bring more harm than good. investing in MIMs are different from investing in general, like in stock, because if we invest in stock, we can most likely to predict when the stock is about to go down. We can predict it from the bad performance from the corporation, or if the corporation have internal problems, or if the corporation has a lower selling power. But if this problem happens to a company, then the company is most likely able to solve this problem. Why? Because in the company, they're filled with trained and skilled people who work in that company, who are able to solve those problems that cause the stocks to go down, and the stock will most likely to go up. Meanwhile, if we invest in MIM, we will never be able to predict when it's about to go down or when it's about to go up. Even the company cannot solve it if the MIM starts to go down. Why? Because investing in MIM, it's really unpredictable. So we cannot predict when it's about to go down. Meanwhile, since the target are working class, they need a secure investment. Because they came from a working class who doesn't have a lot of money, so they need to put their money in a secure investment, and MIM investment isn't a secure investment. So that's why, as the government side of the house, we do believe that investing in MIM actually bring more harm than good, and it's exploit the working class people. That's all from me, and I'm proud to propose.